Biker ripped the waitress's shirt. What he saw froze the whole bar. The bar went dead silent. The music stopped mid-beat, glasses froze in mid-air, and every eye turned toward the biker standing in the middle of the room, his hand clutching the torn fabric of the waitress's shirt. What he saw beneath wasn't a tattoo or a scar. It was something that told a story no one was ready to hear. A story that would change every single person in that bar. That night, they learned that monsters don't always wear leather. Sometimes, they wear smiles. It was one of those nights when the rain never stopped. Thunder growled over the cracked asphalt as the headlights of a dozen motorcycles cut through the downpour, snaking toward a small roadside bar called Eagle's Rest. Inside, the bar was warm, filled with laughter, the smell of beer, and the low hum of old rock music. Behind the counter moved Lena, a young waitress in her late 20s, with tired eyes and a soft smile she forced for every customer. She'd been working double shifts for months now, ever since her little brother's accident. Her hands shook slightly as she poured another glass, her mind drifting back to the hospital bills piling up at home. She needed this job. She needed to stay invisible, quiet, polite. But fate rarely asks for permission before testing someone's strength. The door burst open with a gust of cold wind. A group of bikers stepped inside, rough, loud, wearing black leather patched with skulls and fire. The leader, Duke, was tall, broad-shouldered, and carried the kind of silence that made people uncomfortable. He wasn't cruel, just unreadable. Behind him were his men, Tank, Snake, and Ryder, each known around the state for riding fast, drinking hard, and staying loyal only to their own. The moment they entered, the air shifted. The regulars went quiet. Everyone knew this gang. The Iron Wolves. Lena tried to ignore them, but Duke's cold gaze followed her as she moved from table to table. "Hey, sweetheart," Tank called out with a smirk, "bring us 4 beers. Make it quick, yeah." Lena nodded and hurried to the bar. As she turned, one of the bikers whistled low. "Nice one," Snake muttered. She clenched her jaw. She was used to comments like that, but tonight something inside her trembled. Not from fear, from the storm she'd been hiding for too long. When she returned with the beers, Duke leaned forward. "You work here alone at night?" Lena forced a smile. "Yes, sir. Just me and the bartender." Duke looked at her, his eyes unreadable. Brave girl. She didn't know whether it was a compliment or a warning. Hours passed. The rain outside turned heavier. The bikers laughed, drank, and argued about old rides and lost friends. Then, as Lena reached across to collect empty glasses, something small slipped from her sleeve and landed on the table, a worn military dog tag. Duke's eyes caught it immediately. He picked it up, his face tightening. "You serve in the army." Lena froze. Her lips trembled. "No. It was my father's." The name engraved on the tag read, Captain Mark Reynolds, Kia, 2017. The bar grew quiet for a moment. Duke's men looked at each other. They all knew what those letters meant. Killed in action. Duke's voice softened slightly. "You were a soldier's kid, huh?" Lena nodded, fighting back the sting in her eyes. "Yeah, he didn't come back. But he taught me to stand tall." She turned to leave before her emotions betrayed her. Duke watched her go, something unreadable flickering in his eyes. It was almost midnight when it happened. The storm outside had worsened, thunder shaking the windows. Half the bar had cleared out, but the Iron Wolves remained, half drunk and restless. Tank had gotten into an argument with one of the regulars, and voices were raised. Lena rushed in between them, trying to calm things down. "Please, stop, you'll get us all thrown out." But Tank, swaying with drink, sneered. "You think you can tell me what to do, doll?" He reached for her arm. Not roughly, but enough to make her flinch. Duke shot him a look. "Tank, sit down." But it was too late. In her panic, Lena tried to pull away, and her shirt caught on Tank's ring, ripping across the front. Gasps filled the bar. The music cut off. Everyone froze. Duke stood up slowly. His eyes widened, not in anger, but in shock. Because beneath the torn shirt, on Lena's chest and shoulder, were deep, twisted burn scars, the kind only caused by fire or explosions. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then Lena realized what had happened and stumbled back, trying to cover herself, her face pale with shame. "Don't look at me," she cried. But Duke didn't look away out of pity. He looked because he recognized the pattern of those scars. He'd seen them before, in combat. He took a step forward, voice low but trembling. That's from an IED blast. Afghanistan, 2017, right." Lena's breath hitched. Her eyes darted to him. "How do you know that?" Duke swallowed hard. The entire bar watched as he removed his leather jacket, and beneath it, on his own arm, were scars almost identical to hers. The kind that never fade. "I was there," he said quietly. "I was in Bravo company. We lost Captain Reynolds that day." The room went utterly silent. Lena's eyes filled with tears. You knew my father." Duke nodded slowly, his jaw tight. "He saved my life." Lena's hand went to her mouth as the world seemed to blur. The man standing before her, the feared biker, the outcast, the ghost of a war she'd tried to forget, was one of her father's brothers in arms. Tank stepped back, suddenly sober. The others lowered their heads. Duke looked at Lena, his voice breaking. "We thought no one made it out from that blast. Your father dragged me out of the wreckage. I've been living with that guilt for years." Lena whispered, her voice trembling. He used to say he didn't regret saving anyone. He just wished he could tell them to live for him." Duke's eyes glistened. He nodded slowly. "Then I guess I've got a debt to repay." He turned to his men. "Put the drinks down. From now on, this bar, her bar, is off limits for disrespect. We owe her and her family that much." Lena stood frozen, tears streaming down her cheeks, not of shame this time, but of release. For years, she'd carried her scars like a curse. But in that strange, violent moment, they became her proof of survival, and her connection to her father's last act of heroism. As the bikers left one by one, Duke placed the torn piece of her shirt on the counter gently. "Sorry, kid, didn't mean for tonight to go that way. But maybe, it's what we both needed." And with that, he walked out into the storm. Lena looked out the window after them, the rain still falling. But this time, it didn't sound like pain, it sounded like peace. The next morning, sunlight slipped through the dusty blinds of Eagle's Rest. Lena sat alone at one of the empty tables, holding the torn piece of fabric from the night before. Her hands still trembled when she thought about Duke, the biker who'd once fought beside her father. She hadn't slept. Her mind kept replaying his words. "Your father dragged me out of the wreckage." That night had been buried deep inside her, hidden like the scars she carried. Now, all of it was awake again. The door creaked open. Duke walked in, without his gang this time. No leather jacket, no noise, just him, wearing a worn gray hoodie and carrying something in his hand. "Hey," he said softly. Lena looked up, surprised. "You came back." He nodded, setting a small metal box on the counter. "Found this after you left last night. It's yours." She frowned, confused. "What is it?" Duke sat across from her. "Your father's. He gave it to me before the mission. Told me, if something ever happened, I should find his family." Her lips parted, her voice barely a whisper. "You kept it all these years." Duke's voice was rough. "Couldn't bring myself to open it. Felt like I didn't deserve to." Lena slowly opened the box. Inside was a folded, burned letter, edges charred from the explosion. She opened it with trembling fingers. The words were faded, but still readable. "Greater than, Lena, my little warrior. If you ever read this, it means I couldn't make it home. But don't let the world turn your scars into shame. Every mark on your skin is proof that you fought to live. And one day, someone will see you the way I always did, stronger than anyone I've ever known. Love, Dad." Her tears fell silently onto the page. For years, she had hidden those scars from everyone, thinking they made her less But in that moment, she realized, they were her father's final message, written not just in ink, but in her very skin. Duke looked away, his jaw tightening. He used to talk about you all the time. Said he was fighting to make sure you'd grow up safe. Lena wiped her eyes. And he saved you instead. Yeah, Duke said quietly. And I wasted that gift. After the war, I lost myself. I thought the only thing left for me was the road, the noise, and the bottle. He looked down at his scarred arm. But seeing you, hearing your father's words again, it's like he's telling me to live, too. The two sat in silence for a while. Outside, the rain had stopped. Sunlight broke through the clouds, painting the floor in gold. Lena finally smiled. A real one this time. Maybe it's time we both stop running from our ghosts. Duke nodded. Yeah, maybe it's time we start honoring them instead. And that's the thing about scars. They don't make us broken. They make us proof. Proof that we survived. The night that biker tore her shirt wasn't an act of cruelty. It was fate revealing the truth they both needed to heal. Because sometimes, life doesn't destroy us to punish us. It tears us open so the light can finally get in.